Okay, everyone, welcome to this podcast, In Depth with David, that is. My name is David, and today I'm back with my good friend Joe. He sent me a text a couple days ago asking me if I wanted to do a football podcast, and here we are. We're going to be discussing our predictions for the entire 2020 NFL season, team to team, where they're going to rank, who's going to win it all the above. And we're also going to each tell our bold prediction for what's going to happen what's going to transpire during the season at the very end. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Joe, how are you doing?
Good, David. I am doing just fine. And I hope all the viewers that are watching are staying safe. We're going to make it through this. A lot of stuff is going on in the world right now. Today is June 1st, 2020, and the world's on its head right now.
Yeah, trying times, but I promise there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess let's just get right into it, Joe. So
we'll go right into it. All right,
your predictions.
Here's how we're going to do this. We have two conferences, and I have predicted how I think every single game in the 17-week NFL season is going to go. And we're going to go each conference. We're going to work our way up. So we're going to start at the bottom. And we're going to work our way up. So we're going to start with the AFC because our favorite team, me and David, is in the AFC.
Of course. Yeah, you can see it behind me, the Patriots sticker.
Yes. And so, finishing in 16th place in the AFC with a record of 4-12 is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I didn't see I don't think they really did much to improve their team this offseason. I just kind of think they're on the downward decline.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much to say on that. I mean, they still have Fournette, right? Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I actually have something to say about Jacksonville.
Sure.
So, if we were playing Madden with the Jacksonville Jaguars as a franchise, it would be fantastic because
I agree.
You have young players such as Fournette and Ngakoue, that they're both still good players. Now, they themselves have lowered their trade value because the Jaguars organization
they've gone downhill since.
But they do have the Rams' first-round pick this year. You have to remember that. And with trading Nick Foles, they have committed to Gardner Minshew. Now, Gardner Minshew was this crazy thing last year. He had some good games. He kind of sort of struggled a bit towards the end of the season. But, I mean, there's two different paths that happen. Either Minshew plays well and Jacksonville wins 6 to 8 games. Then you have 2 first-round picks, and you can use them to help build your roster. I mean, I'm thinking about now. They have some pretty good. They have some fast receivers. That team has some quick receivers. They got some speed guys. You got 2 first-round picks who probably go no, they just picked a corner. Probably go like linebacker to replace Telvin Smith, and then maybe someone up front because that great legendary defense is falling apart. But or Minshew really struggles and he was a flash in the pan. Now you have 2 picks to go trade up to get Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. And if they sell off Fournette and Ngakoue at the deadline, they can get even more picks.
Do you think Minshew? You go.
I think there is a chance for Jacksonville to have a bright future, but this is the Jacksonville Jaguars we're talking about, a franchise that has been completely inept since both of us were born. We were both born in 2001, by the way.
Do you think Gardner Minshew has the potential to be a franchise quarterback? Because I think there's maybe something there after seeing him play last year, but
I agree. I think there is something, but you have to take into account sample size. He only started like 11, 12 games.
Right.
And I think his record in those games, I think he was 4-7. I believe he was 4-7 in his 11 starts. But his numbers were good. He had 20. I'm looking at now.
Mm-hmm.
It was 22 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Better than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways,
All right. We're gonna keep moving here. So
that covers it with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
How about
Interesting
the
to
next team?
see what happens with their management. So next in 15th place in the AFC, finishing with a record of 5-11, the New York Jets.
Okay, interesting. I thought it may
think
be
a
the
lot of
Dolphins
people
here.
it is not the Dolphins. So the Jets. So I personally think Adam Gase is a fraud and is not a good head coach at all. I think
That's fair.
I think Sam Darnold can be a franchise quarterback. I think the previous regime with the Jets did a terrible job with him. Now they have Joe Douglas, I think that's his name. He's done a good job.
All right.
I like them picking the big tackle from Louisville. I think he has a little bit of bust potential because he's so big, but I think it can work. That defense, Mosley's going to be back. Jamal Adams is still there. Now, is he still there after the season? I don't know. But I still think there's a lot of very young pieces on that Jets team, and I don't think this is the year that they take off. Combine this with the AFC East has the hardest schedule in NFL this year. They're playing both the AFC West and the NFC West, which people may argue are the best divisions in football. So, I think the Jets, I think they have something going. I just don't think this is the year that they take off because of the schedule being so tough for the AFC East.
I think I like some of what I saw from Darnold last year, not everything. Obviously, the low point of his career was probably the game against the New England Patriots Monday Night Football. That was atrocious.
Yeah, that's on ESPN. You shouldn't be miking him up. Like, the kid's getting absolutely railed by the Patriots.
Yeah, they didn't need to air that he was seeing ghosts. That was a mistake on ESPN. One of the many mistakes they've had. Sam Darnold's a good piece. Robbie Anderson, like you were saying, just a lot of good young pieces. Jamal Adams.
It's too bad Robbie Anderson is not on the Jets anymore.
What team is he on?
He is in Carolina.
Okay, that's right. Forget what I said there. Yeah, Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams, if he's there past the season.
Yep.
Two good young pieces, but the Jets are also one of those teams that have kind of been on the decline since they kind of reached their peak in 2015. I feel like, even though they didn't make the playoffs that year, they kind of gave the Patriots a little bit of run for their money.
They were good that year. I think they were 10-6 and didn't make it that year.
Yeah, they lost in the final game to Buffalo to lose out on a playoff spot. But
yeah, the AFC was tight that year. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the future's bright for the Jets. I just don't think it's going to be this year.
I can see that.
So the next two teams in the AFC have the same record, but I have one of them winning out on tiebreaker because they play head to head, and so not this team. The next one wins. So finishing in 14th place in the AFC with a record of 6-10, I have the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bengals, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I like.
I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me? Are we good?
Now I can. You cut out for a second. That Merrimack, Massachusetts internet. No, it's all right.
Against. What was I going to say?
So I have the Bengals. If you didn't hear me.
Yeah, I heard. So, you think Joe Burrow is going to have a solid season?
I think
lead them to 6 wins.
I think Joe Burrow was a little overrated, in my opinion. I think Tua was the better quarterback. Obviously, Tua got hurt, but we're not here to talk about the NFL draft. I could go on for hours about the NFL draft.
Right.
Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard, that's still a good 1-2 punch in the backfield. They've been there for a little bit. AJ Green looking to bounce back. Tyler Boyd. The Bengals picked a receiver with the 33rd pick, the first in the second round. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. They've invested in their offense. Oh, this is an important point with the Bengals. This is the first year when owner Mike Brown has invested significantly in free agency. Head coach Zach Taylor finally convinced Mike Brown to invest in free agency because Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, is notoriously cheap. He for all those Bengals teams with Marvin Lewis, he had a budget of $75 million for the team. When the NFL salary cap's what, David? Isn't it like close to 200 right now? You know off the top of your head?
I feel like is it around 150-ish? I could be wrong. Let me see. I don't know if I can just look.
But anyway, the Bengals, they have invested in a lot of players. I think Burrow's going to struggle a little bit because another thing is, I want you to think about that AFC North division. You have the Ravens and Steelers, both very physical teams play very physical defenses, and the Browns do have a lot of playmakers on that roster altogether. So I think the Bengals kind of I think they also fall into the problem of being in a tough division. I'm looking here. Yeah, I have the Bengals going 1-5 in the against AFC North opponents. I think they're going to beat the Steelers at home once, but I think they get swept by the Ravens, and I think they get swept by the Browns this year.
Okay. Yeah, I did look. The salary cap is close to 200. It's at 198.2.
Okay. Yeah, the Bengals have invested. So, I think, again, bright future in Cincinnati.
Just
I'm going
not
to
there
move on
yet.
now to the next team that is going to finish 13th in the AFC also with a record of 6-10, but winning the tiebreaker over the Bengals in a head-to-head matchup is the new Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders, okay. Yeah, they're an interesting bunch.
They are, especially with John Gruden at the helm.
Yeah, he's great entertainment.
He's not a family-friendly coach, David. He's not a family-friendly coach at all.
That's fair. He has an interesting way of motivating his crew. He's always been a great football mind.
Yes, he has.
They just picked up Marcus Mariota, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he's their backup. Now, this is actually interesting. So, for some reason, I think John Gruden hates Derek Carr. You know what I think it is? It's because Derek Carr is one of those he's kind of quiet, he's kind of like, oh, you got to work hard, we got to do what we can to win. And that's not really John Gruden. John Gruden would want like a Baker Mayfield type.
Yeah, which is why he probably connects with Vontaze Burfict a lot, because Burfict's a very loud.
But anyway, on the rest of the Raiders here, I mean, their offense, they have some great pieces. I mean, Josh Jacobs, he had a great rookie season. I mean, Tyrell Williams, he's still a good possession receiver. They picked Henry Ruggs, a speedster. The Raiders love speed, David.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You'd fit right in there in the slot with those wheels. And then Darren Waller's good at tight end. And Raiders, they actually have a great offensive line. They drafted, I think his name was Cole Miller a couple years ago.
Yep.
And then big Trent Brown on the other side. He's still a good tackle.
Patriots.
Their interior line's good. The only problem with the Raiders' defense is they addressed it in free agency and the draft. It's still not going to be good enough. I'm sorry. I mean, they picked, I think his name was Arnett. He was a questionable pick at number 19 overall. He had some character issues, and he had some off-the-field issues, which sounds like a Raiders draft pick to me.
Sounds like a Raiders player in general. Shout out to Antonio Brown.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the Raiders, their main issue is simple. Their defense is still, it's just not good enough to compete in a division with the Chiefs. Um, I think the Chargers can still do some things, and then Denver. We'll get to Denver later.
Okay,
That's one I'm very excited to talk about. But again, this is an interesting one because of the division.
for sure.
Yeah. I actually have Oakland going 0-6 against the AFC West this year. I don't have them winning any division games.
Really?
I have them 0-6, but that's the Raiders. Okay, so next up we have a 3-team tie for 12th, 11th, and 10th place in the AFC. And I sorted them on what I thought the actual tiebreakers are. So coming up first out of those three teams with a record of 12th in the AFC with a record of 7-9, here is the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. You have them going a couple games better than I thought, but
Yes,
I'm interested to hear what you say.
I am more optimistic about the Miami Dolphins. So they have Tua, which I think Tua is going to be a fantastic quarterback in the NFL. And they still have Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let me
Don't
tell you,
remind
that
me.
guy. That guy. Kalen Balaj, he's a pretty good running back. He had some injury problems last year. And I think they signed someone else in free agency. I do not remember off the top of my head. I think their front office did a great job this offseason. They invested in a lot of veteran free agents to kind of, I guess, groom the young guys. I mean, I don't want to be talking about, I don't want to say they're grooming their replacements because that sounds mean. But I think they brought in a lot of veterans to help build the culture that head coach Brian Flores wants to do. And bringing Kyle Van Noy will help their defense, that front seven, that linebacking core. They invested in an offensive tackle on the offensive line, and they picked a corner at the end of the first round. And Brian Flores,
Good head. I think he
he's
could be
a
a good head
defensive
coach.
guy. He's a defensive guy. One thing that he did is he drafted a lot of offense because that's not his strong suit. This is my philosophy if I was ever an NFL coach or general manager. If I have let's say I have a defensive head coach, I'm signing veterans on defense and I'm drafting offense. I'm drafting the one that I'm worse at and bringing in a young person and so they can do their thing. Anyway, so that's my spiel on the Dolphins. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think they're an intriguing team for the future. I think Flores is like the perfect candidate for them because a lot of these sports these days are trending towards like like the sexier younger coaches, and I feel like that's very appealing for an organization like the Dolphins because
Yeah.
he was a great coordinator, great defensive coordinator for Patriots, and he had a
Yeah.
decent first year for the Dolphins. Just one correction: they did not bring in a lot of veterans; they brought in a lot of former Patriots.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
just playing around. No,
Who else do they bring in besides Van Noy?
well, they have Eric Rowe, Van Noy.
Yep. Super Bowl 52 MVP Eric Rowe.
Oh God, bad memories.
Oh, didn't they get Jonathan Jones too?
Yeah, they did. Okay, that's one I was forgetting. Yeah, and then
And
obviously
I think of Landon Roberts too. I think he went there as well. Or he
okay,
might have been the Lions. I'm not sure.
Lions. Him and Collins went to the Lions. I think weirdly enough, but
Let me ask the internet.
yeah. But no, I think the Dolphins are
Nope.
trending up.
Landon Roberts is Dolphins.
Okay,
I know Jamie Collins is Lions. I know that.
that's right.
All right.
And I do like the receiving core: Jarvis Landry, Devontae
Yes.
Parker.
Devontae Parker he's something. He's pretty good. He's been slept on. All right,
Yeah,
so the next 7-9 team in the AFC, finishing 11th in the AFC, is the Houston Texans.
really? Okay.
Now, the popular name for head coach Bill O'Brien online is Billy O'Stooge. Head coach and general manager.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Let me see what I can do here.
There you go. You're back.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. So Houston Texans. So Deshaun Watson's fantastic. Running back, they have Duke Johnson and blank. Wide receivers, Will Fuller, injury prone. Brandon Cooks, injury prone. Offensive line, no. Defense, an aging J.J. Watt. They have a good line. They have some good linebackers. Secondary, no. This team is terrible. Deshaun Watson's going to single-handedly win them 6 games. They're going to benefit from being in the AFC South. I absolutely think this team is awful. But Deshaun Watson's going to win a bunch of games. I am down on the Houston Texans this year. Over to you.
I think the offense has a little bit of potential, but I agree with you where the defense is a bit atrocious. I mean, yeah, they have J.J. Watt, and I love the guy. It's just he can't play a full season, which is awful.
They do have some good linebackers. I'm going to give them that. I think his name's Cunningham from Vanderbilt. He's pretty good.
And I do think their offense has a little bit of potential, though, with Watson, David Johnson.
That's right. They do have David Johnson. I forgot about it. I tried to take that trade out of my head. I forgot about that.
I think
David Johnson could as well. David Johnson could bounce back.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Cooks has potential to. It's all depending on, like, as you were saying, if they stay healthy, him and Will Fuller. But their offense has potential. But I agree with you. I don't think they're gonna make much noise in the AFC.
I mean, this is another one. I'm going to bring up the division here and there on one side. I think it's important. This is one that I think is important. So I have Houston finishing 7-9. 4 of those wins are coming in the division. I think they're going to beat. I think they're going to beat the Colts twice. Twice, and they're going to split with both Jacksonville and Tennessee. I think they're going to lose to the Jags once. That's how bad I think this team is. No offense to Jacksonville fans out there.
Do you think Bill O'Brien's going to get himself fired this season?
No. I think they just extended him for 2 more years.
Oh, yeah. I think. Uh-oh. Anyways.
Sorry, forward. Houston. All right, that's enough, Houston. I'm sorry. All right, the last 7-9 team. 10th in the AFC is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Chargers?
Oh, okay. That sounds so weird to say. Colin Cowherd, a lot of people don't like Colin Cowherd, but he's made this point, and it's actually a fair one. Tyrod Taylor has a winning record as quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
He started a couple games. He started out with the Ravens behind Joe Flacco.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Then he went to the dysfunctional Bills for 4 years. And he had a winning record in the games he was in. Now he got injured a couple times. He got benched for Nathan Peterman.
Oh God!
But
what a memory.
Tyrod, I think he can work. I mean, I like their head coach too, Anthony Lynn. No Melvin Gordon, but Austin Eckler's pretty good. I think they also have this kid Justin Jackson. He's pretty good too. He didn't get much playing time last year.
Yep.
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, fantastic receivers. I believe Hunter Henry's still on the team. Let me double check that. Because he was a free agent. Yes, Hunter Henry is still a Charger. I like them trading for Pro Bowl guard Trey Turner from the Panthers. I think that's a good move. And their defense just has good pieces all around them. So why do I have them at 7-9? Schedule. I have them going 2-4 in the division. They're going to beat the Raiders twice, and that's it. They're going to get swept by Denver. They're going to get swept by Kansas City. So there's 4 losses right there. And they just have a tough one this year. The AFC West has to play the NFC South. So they have to play New Orleans, Tampa, Carolina, Atlanta. That's another reason why I think I'm a little down on Oakland. All right, what do you have to say about the Bulls?
I agree with you. I think they have a lot of young pieces. Ever since I saw Tyrod play in Buffalo, because that's when I became familiar with him. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. He can hold his own. He's like
I do too.
I think he's kind
I
of like
don't.
a poor man's Dak Prescott, if you ask me. He's solid, but like
Yeah,
he can hold his own.
he can hold his own. I don't think you want him being your like starter for like a long time. But
No,
I mean, they're using him as a stopgap. That's what they're doing right now. I mean, they're going to wait for Herbert now. Is
right.
Herbert? I was not a Justin Herbert fan in the draft. I did not. I was not impressed. But that's for another day. But yeah, that and the schedule. They have the NFC South. That's going to be a tough one this year.
Yeah, they fall victim to a terrible schedule and a tough division, but I do like the pieces they have on defense as well. Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, but
Yep,
give
Derwin
them a
James.
couple.
He's a
Oh, I
great
forgot
save. He's good.
a
I think
Madden superstar.
Casey Hayward is also like the best corner in football, like statistically speaking. All right, next up, I have two 8-8 teams,
Okay.
and finishing ninth in the AFC with a record of 8-8 is the Chargers' old quarterback's new team, the Indianapolis Colts.
All right. Interesting.
I'm gonna let you go first.
The Colts. So I don't hate the move to bring in Philip Rivers because it's only a 1-year deal. I don't know if you agree with me on that. It's kind of like just like a 1 year, see what you can do deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand because I thought Brissett wasn't horrible.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's in that similar boat with Tyrod where he's serviceable.
I agree.
I mean, they drafted Jacob Easton from Washington in the third round. I don't know if they think he's going to be their quarterback and let him sit for 2 years. I
Right.
mean, they have a very smart general manager there, Chris Ballard. I mean, Marlon Mack. I like the Jonathan Taylor pick in the second round. Um, T.Y. Hilton's still good, but he's starting to get up there in age. The offensive line's fantastic, best in the league. Defense has
Jack.
some good players. My problem with the Colts is there's no special player. There's no one that just has this ability to take them over the top. Philip Rivers used to be able to do it, but now he's like, how old is Philip Rivers? Like 37?
37, 38. Yeah.
That's the internet.
And just to keep on talking, I think T.Y. Hilton used to have that potential to be a game changer, but now he's kind of fallen off a bit. He's still a solid
Who has
receiver, but T.Y. Hilton.
Hilton? Yeah, I was about to say that. I don't want to say he's losing it or losing a step, but he's starting to get up there in age. T.Y. Hilton's 30 now, and Philip
Right.
Rivers is 38. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what the Colts' direction is, but they have one of the best general managers, so you know what? I trust them. And I like the DeForest Buckner pickup. I think
That was a
he's
good one.
worth trading your first round pick. I think that was good. All right, next up, also finishing 8-8, finishing eighth in the AFC, just missing the playoffs. The Cleveland Browns.
Another tough season for Cleveland.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one. So Stefanski at head coach. I think that'll be fine. I mean, he did a pretty good job with Kirk Cousins. He was the OC in Minnesota.
Right. Okay.
Nick Chubb is still good. I don't know if he can bounce back. Running backs these days.
Right.
Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. Baker Mayfield's going into a critical year. They picked up. I like the Austin Hooper pickup. I like the Jack Conklin pickup. I like Jack Conklin at right tackle, and they drafted a left tackle in the first round. Good job, Browns. We haven't been able to say that the past 20 years. Good job, Browns. Let me tell you, this roster has a lot of talent. But we saw last year, you need a disciplinarian to come in there and put that team into shape, because if you let them do what they want, we saw it last year, they're just going to blow up and fall apart. Now, I don't
Yeah,
know too much about Kevin Stefanski. I don't think he was a good hire. This is going to
I
sound
think
controversial, but I think they should have kept Greg Williams as head coach after they fired Hugh in 2018. It's controversial because Greg Williams has a lot of controversy following him.
was he part of Bounty Gate, if I remember correctly?
You cut out at the beginning. Repeat that, please.
Was he part of Bounty Gate, if I remember correctly?
Yes, he
Okay.
was the main person behind it. He was the Saints defensive coordinator when that was all going on.
Yeah,
All
the
right, I'll have
Browns.
you.
I feel like they have a chance to do something this year. I'm kind of with you on the Stefanski hire. I'm like, let's just wait and see how he does because we don't know much about him.
I think it can work, but again, we don't know too much.
Yeah,
I mean, he
you go.
needs to give this team needs discipline. You know what this
Right.
is like? Just thought of a good analogy, and now this is like putting together a putting together like a recess football team, but only picking the physical, you know what people. Where if one thing's just going to set them off, this is like that kind of team. It's like they're walking on a tightrope, and at any point they can just fall off. That's how I see it.
I do think what Stefanski has going for him is he's 38, so he's another one where like Flores, he's a young coaching candidate where a lot of sports are trending towards that because it's more like appealing to players that have like that young executive. But it all really depends on how Baker Mayfield's going to play, in my opinion. Yeah,
And
he had a solid rookie season.
Speaking of Baker Mayfield, this is how I'm going to close out the Browns. I have them going. I have half their wins coming in the division. I have them going 4-2 in the AFC North. They're going to sweep the Bengals, and they're going to sweep the Ravens.
Oh, okay.
Fun fact. Very fun fact here. Baker Mayfield is 4-0 in his career against Baltimore. 4-0.
Wow.
He has not lost a game against the Ravens in his career.
Yeah, that's right. They crushed them last year. I forgot about that. One of their 2 losses, Baltimore. But it all depends, in my opinion, on how Baker
They beat
Mayfield
him
plays.
back in week. They beat him back in week 4 last year before Lamar took off.
Yeah,
and then they played the last game of the season when they rested when Baltimore sat everyone out. But hey, it counts. It counts as a win. All right, so the next 7 in the AFC are my playoff teams. Remember, folks viewing, we have 7 playoff teams now. So finishing 7th in the AFC with a record of 9-7 is the New England Patriots.
right behind me. There we go.
Now, this might be the most fascinating team this offseason. Obviously, Tom Brady left.
Among other pieces.
That's totally respectable, but, now, let me ask you. You got to listen carefully. Who do you think starts, Hoyer or Stidham? Or another quarterback not on the roster right now?
I've been going back and forth on this, but I feel like it's Stidham's job to lose, personally.
Who do you want to start?
I don't see why not just Stidham. Like, why not just throw him in there and see how he does? Like,
yeah.
If it goes bad, we get a good draft pick or a decent draft pick. If it goes well, we can go to the playoffs potentially.
I mean, we think it's going to go well. But another thing to note just for the future is, including compensatories, Bill Belichick has 13 draft picks next year.
Yep.
He traded out a lot in this draft. He traded for a lot of picks next year. Like when he traded down from, I think we had, it was like 23, I think.
It was 23.
We traded down, I think it was with the Chargers, but we got like a second next year, and then we got like more picks. We traded down again in the second and in the third, but yeah, I mean, I still think N'Keal Harry is going to be a good receiver. One guy that really impressed me last year was Jacoby Myers. He was pretty good in the slot. I mean, he dropped a good amount of balls, so
it's growing pains. Yeah. I mean,
I think the offensive line can bounce back. David Andrews is back, I believe. Am I correct? David Andrews is
Yes.
back. Okay.
Isaiah Wynn hopefully will take another step forward.
Hopefully he can get a fully healthy season too. Because he
Right.
missed the first one. And last year he only played, I think it was like 10 games.
Yep.
I think the defense is not going to be the unit it was last year, but I think it's still going to be good.
I agree.
If they're going to make the playoffs like I have them doing, we're going to need guys like Dietrich Wise and Derek Rivers to fully step up as like linebackers, edge rushers. I mean, the secondary it's still going to be good. You still have the McCourties, Gilmore. I think second round pick last year, Joejuan Williams is going to step up. J.C. Jackson's going to be our new slot guy. And you still have Harmon and Chung. Actually, I think Harmon is on the Lions now. Hold on. Yeah, Ron Harmon's on the Lions. But anyway, and the last one is, I mean, Bill Belichick has proven over the past 20 years, he is a phenomenal, arguably the best modern head coach in NFL history. I think he can get this roster going. I think they're just going to squeak in there at 9-7. And now I'll let you say a couple things.
Yeah,
and you say a couple things, David, I need to step up and go use the restroom, so I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, go for it. Regarding the Patriots, I think they have the potential to make the playoffs this year. I think the X factor is the quarterback play, or just who is that quarterback. But if Jarrett Stidham's in there, I have faith in him to at least hold his own. He was a standout player at training camp last year, so we'll see how that translates to on the field. Obviously, he had that bad showing against the Jets that resulted in a pick six by Jamal Adams, but I think he could do well. The defense is going to be good still. It hurts losing Van Noy and Harmon and some pieces, but, I think they have the potential to hold their own and not obviously be as good as last year because that was a historic defense, at least for the first half, but the secondary is getting up there in age, but I feel like they have the potential to be a solid unit again. The offense, I'm interested to see how the up-and-coming receivers play, such as, like Joe said, N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers. But, I feel like it's a solid unit. We'll see how they do. Edelman's getting up there another year in age. The McCourties, Chung. It's going to be interesting to see how these older players kind of perform, I guess, because the Patriots are still a solid team and they've been one of the more consistent teams over the last 20 years. But I feel like the biggest X factor is going to be who's at quarterback and how these players deal with their ages and only getting 1 year older.
All right, I'm back. And real quick, David, your voice got a little quieter. I don't know if you have a microphone or not, but your voice got a little quieter. So just a point.
Is this like a good volume right now? Can you hear me like this?
I can hear you like this, but you're not as loud on the stream.
Okay.
Anyway, so the next team I have finishing 6th in the AFC, also getting a wild card team. Patriots are my number 7. They're going to be the 3rd wild card team. So 6th at 10-6. They're going to be tied with the next team, but they're going to lose head-to-head with the team I have in 5th. As they meet is the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to step up this year. I mean, Drew Lock balled out at the end of the year. He had his famous thing where he was like rapping on the sideline, which I thought was cool. I think John Elway gets a lot of flack for not being a great general manager because when he came in, they had Tebow, and I mean, that was Tebow. I mean, he was fun to watch. He had a great little stretch there.
Right.
I mean, and then they fell right into getting Peyton Manning. I mean, can't blame them there. And they had that great defense. But then they kind of got exposed a little bit after Manning retired. The next year they went 9-7 with Osweiler, didn't make the playoffs. And then Gary Kubiak retired. And then he brought in Vance Joseph. That was not a great move. But I like Vic Fangio as a coach, coaching your team's strength, they still have a very good defense. Remember Bradley Chubb only played like 3 games last year? He's going to be back. They have some good pieces to replace Chris Harris left in free agency, but they have some good pieces. I like picking up Judy in the first round. I think that's really going to help that offense. Noah Fant's going to look to break out in his second year. The offensive line still has some question marks, but I think they're going to improve. And I think they're going to be contenders in a tough division. I think they're going to go. I have them going. I have them going 10-6. I think they're going to do well.
Yeah, I like what I saw.
Even with playing the NFC South, which is a tough division.
For sure.
Because they get both Tampa and New Orleans at home. And I think the two tough teams, they have both of them at home. I think they win both of those games.
Okay, interesting.
And then I have them winning at Atlanta too. I think they're going to lose at Carolina. Because that's an early season game. It's going to be hot down there. I think Carolina's going to get the best of them that game. But, yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts about Denver.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Drew Lock does. I thought he did fairly well in that sample size towards the end of the season. I like Philip Lindsay. Von Miller's going to be Von Miller.
And they also brought in Melvin Gordon. I like that too.
Melvin Gordon was a solid pickup as well. Yeah, I feel like they're on the rise. They had a couple-year hiatus, I guess, if you will, once they won the Super Bowl. But, things are starting to trend upwards for them. I like the Jerry Jeudy pick as well. I feel like he's going to live up to the hype. A lot of people like him already. So I think they have a good unit to move forward with.
I'm not personally a fan of Denver because they bested our Patriots a couple times. 2015 AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's probably one of my more frustrating losses as a Boston sports fan, but I digress.
Yeah. All right, so next up, the team that's barely going to edge them out in the standings, also 10-6, winning a head-to-head matchup with these Broncos. Another controversial one because a lot of people are thinking this is the end for them. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers bouncing back and finishing 10-6, fifth in the AFC.
Okay, interesting.
And last year, Mike Tomlin showed me that he is a legitimately great coach in the NFL, and here's why. So before last season, they had all that drama with Le'Veon Bell, holdout, and Antonio Brown doing Antonio Brown things. I think it was 8-7-1, or it might have been 7-8-1.
8-7-1.
I didn't catch you. What did you say?
8-7-1. They won.
8-7-1. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because fun fact: so Mike Tomlin took over in 2007. He has not had a losing record. The worst season he's ever had was 8-8. He had one 8-8 season in there. The rest of his years, they've all had a winning record. Now, I thought most of that was coasting off of having a good offense. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, I think he's going to bounce back. For the first time in his career, he's working out hard in the offseason because I don't want to be making fun of NFL players because they obviously work very hard. But Ben Roethlisberger used to have a reputation of being lazy and not caring about his body. But with his serious elbow injury he had this past season, he has been really working out a lot in camp. He's lost 15 to 20 pounds apparently since the surgery. Because he's been called Big Ben. And James Conner, he's still a serviceable running back. I don't think he's great. He beat cancer. Good for him. But, again, running backs in this league. Let me tell you, that team, here comes a bad pun. All right? I hope you're ready for this, David, because I know you eat this stuff up. They have some good juju when it comes to drafting receivers in Pittsburgh.
That's fair. They've made a lot of good picks.
Juju Smith-Schuster. Deontay Johnson was great last season. James Washington, this guy's pretty good too. They drafted Claypool out of NC State. I thought he was a sleeper. I really liked him coming into the draft. I was hoping the Patriots might grab him. The offensive line is still good. It is getting a little old. They did pick a tackle in the 3rd round, which I think is good. And that defense is fantastic. They have some great players on that team. And remember, last year, Mike Tomlin nearly took this team to the playoffs with an inconsistent Mason Rudolph, who I really wanted the Pats to pick when he came out, but I don't think he really has it, and a duck. He almost took a duck and an inconsistent Mason Rudolph to the playoffs. I'd like to hear your opinion about the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Mike Tomlin's a solid head coach. They did the best they could with that team, and I feel like it's only going to benefit them that Big Ben's coming back this year. They're up there for one of the more consistent teams, I think, of the past couple decades, along with the Patriots. I mean, obviously they haven't made the playoffs every year, but you got to throw the Steelers in there for every conversation you have about football, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not I think they have a great receiving corps. I've never been like a big Juju guy. Like, I think he's solid, but everyone's like,
I don't think he's a number 1. I think he's a really good number 2. I think once you ask him to be the number 1, it doesn't work. But when he's the number 2, I think he really thrives.
I agree with that. Yeah, I could see the Steelers definitely making some noise this year, but
I personally have a soft spot for the Steelers because my dad grew up in Pennsylvania. He was a big Steelers fan. He always is. Whenever the Steelers play the Patriots, we're always together watching. Except for week 1 last year when you came over to my dorm room and we watched the Patriots just 33 throttle them.
Oh yeah. Always a good game when the Pats.
All right, David. The next one is fitting. Finishing 4th in the AFC as a division winner, hosting a playoff game, and upholding the prophecy, and going 9-7 for the 5th year in a row. I have the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
I did not make them 9-7. I picked and they ended up 9-7.
So you're not buying too much into the hype from the end of last year?
I am cautiously optimistic. I will put it that way. Ryan Tannehill is tough. I mean, he played great down the stretch for Tennessee. Now, if you look at it glass half empty, a lot of that was on play action. And when something new happens, teams normally don't know how to defend it. And so they just keep doing it because there's not a lot of film to watch. If you look at it glass half full, Tannehill stepped up and really showed his draft pedigree. I think he was like the 8th overall pick in
2012.
I think it was 2012. I was going to say, I think it's 2012. It didn't work in Miami. But I think that was more Adam Gase than on Ryan Tannehill. And he also had like a season where he missed a full year with injury one of those years. That was the year we got Matt Moore and them squeaking into a playoff game because the AFC was terrible that year.
Yeah, when the Dolphins made...
Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was fantastic. He's, again, running backs, you could fall off a cliff. I don't think so because Derrick Henry, he works out a lot. I really like their receivers. That A.J. Brown from Ole Miss, he was really good last year. That was a great pick.
For sure.
A lot of people ragged on Corey Davis because he was drafted 5th overall. But, first of all, I don't think you should be taking a receiver 5th overall. So I think that's more on the Titans organization. But I think he's still pretty good. Is Delanie Walker still there or did he retire?
Let's see. He's a free agent, actually.
No, Delanie Walker is currently a free agent, but he's probably going to retire. That offensive line is pretty good across the board. They lost Conklin, but they used their first-round pick on a tackle, which I think was smart. That defense has some good pieces. They have they're very good all around. They also took to the they are in the club with the Lions and the Dolphins and what used to be the Texans and what used to be the Panthers. I'm bringing in all these expatriates.
Typical.
But the one thing that I think this team, their issue is I think they're going to regress on the defensive side of the ball, not the offense. I think the offense is going to be very similar to what we saw last year. Maybe they'll do some different stuff now that there's more film. But longtime legendary defensive mind, and from the Patriots, Dan Pease, retired. So I don't know if that defense is going to keep it moving. Now, the Titans, they're like my number 2, so that's why I've given them a lot. But that's Tennessee for you. I'd like to hear what you think about Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's I don't know if they'll do as well as last year. I feel like there was a little bit of like the typical playoff magic that was involved with that, where like all the pieces were coming together. But people seem to forget that they were a 9-7 team. I'm going back and forth on if Ryan Tannehill is going to suffer from like what I call Nick Foles-itis, where you kind of have like this amazing postseason, but then you kind of fall off after, which I think is what's happening in Nick Foles, if you ask me. Ryan Tannehill, he's a solid quarterback, and he had a great playoffs last season. But I don't know. I'm not keen, I guess, on buying into the hype just yet. But I think Derrick Henry, he's going to have a solid year again. He proved that in the playoffs. He went off. I like the pieces they have on defense, like Kevin Byard. I've always been a fan of him.
Yeah, I like Kevin Byard. Now, he did make that mistake. I think it was 2017 when he was talking trash about how, because they just beat in the last game of the year. This was the year that Jacksonville was like on a roll. They like smoked Jacksonville like the last game of the season.
Right, that's right.
He was talking about how Tom Brady, we're gonna turn him into Blake Bortles, and that didn't go well. They lost like 42-7 in New England.
I remember that.
But I think he's definitely learned. I think Tennessee. I think they're a very boom or bust team. So I'm kind of hedging a little bit with them at 9-7. I do think it's enough to win the AFC South. I don't think it's going to be really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, finishing third in the AFC, with a record of 10-6, is the Buffalo Bills.
10-6,
team that really came alive last year. Again, a lot of people are picking them as like Super Bowl teams. Josh Allen got better last year. He's not all the way there yet, though. He did not have a good showing in the playoffs against Houston. A lot of people chalk up, he was a rookie, but you need your quarterback to do well in the playoffs. That's kind of the thing. It's very rare that you can win playoff games when your quarterback is terrible. A la 2000 Ravens. I'd put the 2011 Bears in there, the 2006 Bears in there.
Well, just remember the 2000 Ravens won the Super Bowl. I get your point, but they won the Super Bowl.
Yes, they did. That was my point. They did it multiple times.
Okay.
With a bad quarterback.
Gotcha.
With Tony Banks and Trent Dilfer. Elvis Gerback.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
But Buffalo, yeah. They have a good backfield. I like that kid, Devin Singletary. And the ageless wonder Frank Gore still going strong.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, awesome for Frank Gore. Still going, still running, still getting close to like 500, 600 yards a year. He's in a more reserved role because, Frank Gore is what, like 37? Yeah, Frank Gore's 37, and he's still moving. They have some good receivers. I like the Stephon Diggs pickup. I think that's a very calculated. I think that was a good move. I think their general manager, Brandon Beane, is one of the best in the league. Very that was a very what I like to call a calculated risk. Stephon Diggs. Trading a first for a receiver. I don't know, but getting someone like Diggs really plays to Josh Allen's strengths. His strengths are deep ball, and his other strength is running the ball, which no one knew. No one knew Josh Allen could run the ball when he came out. Everyone's like, he's just going to be this big pocket passer. So good for Josh Allen. Another point on him. But he can throw it deep. Offensive line, Buffalo, it's pretty good. I'd argue it's top half, fringe top 10 offensive line in the league. Defense, fantastic all around. They have some great players. Trey White, great corner. Trey Edmonds, great middle linebacker. They've got some good pass rushers there. I think they edge out the Patriots by one game. I hate to say it, David. I think Buffalo is actually going to beat us twice this year.
Really?
Unfortunately, I have them. I have them. I think they're going to win at home against the Patriots, and I think they're going to get a close win in Foxborough, maybe like a last-second field goal, or like Stidham or Hoyer's going to throw a bad pick late, but I think Buffalo can do some stuff this year. Super Bowl, I don't know. Conference championship, possible.
Yeah, I think Buffalo's gonna have a good year this year. I'm a little bit hesitant, like you, to say like Super Bowl contenders because last time you said that with the Browns after they acquired Odell Beckham, and I thought that was a little premature. I mean, obviously it was a bit premature. We saw Cleveland did, but I do like the Stephon Diggs pickup. I thought that was solid. Josh Allen. It was fun watching him play against the Texans and lateral the ball like NFL Jam style or whatever you want to call it, or like NFL Street. Yeah. But he just did not make good decisions in that playoff game, and it kind of cost them because they blew like a 16-point lead or something like that. But I think Buffalo is a solid team. I hate to say it, I do think they're going to take the division, but we'll see how that translates to playoff success.
Yeah. And then the next two teams are both 12-4. It's Kansas City and Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to win the head-to-head, so I think Baltimore is going to get that first-round bye.
Okay.
And, I mean, there's not much to really talk about there. Both those teams are good. They're bringing almost the same rosters back. I don't need to deep dive into those teams.
I'll just say one thing about Baltimore because Kansas City, all the respect to them, they're the defending champions. They're going to be good again. But Baltimore, what happened last year in the playoffs, I feel like was a fluke. And I feel like Lamar, now that he has a little bit more experience in the playoffs under his belt, I feel like they're going to go farther. But that's all I have to say.
I think they got Tennessee at the wrong time. That team was hot and rolling.
After beating us.
Tennessee won. They won 7 in a row to close out the season.
Yep.
And then they just went in and just stomped the Patriots. There was like no stopping them. And then Patrick Mahomes had to do some magic stuff to beat them.
Yeah.
So playoff matchups in the AFC. What I have 7 seed New England at 2 seed Kansas City. So Pats and Chiefs at Arrowhead.
I can see where this is going. I have
6 seeded Denver at 3 seed Buffalo. So Broncos, Bills, up at Bills Mafia. That should be a fun game. And then this is the most interesting one. I have the 5 seeded Steelers at the 4 seeded Titans. Steelers at Titans. I think that's going to be a very intriguing game. I think that could be a really interesting one.
I agree.
So that's the AFC for you.
Yep, AFC down, now on to the NFC.
And NFC, back to the bottom, finishing last in the AFC and the NFC with a record of 5-11 is the New York Giants. I mean, I like what they're doing. I think they have a good direction. I'm not sure about Joe Judge as a head coach.
Yeah, that might be too big of a step already because what was he special teams coach with us?
He was our special teams.
We'll see. It might have the
the last real special teams person to be a head coach in the NFL was Jeff Fisher.
Right. Yeah.
People rag on Jeff Fisher. He was great with Tennessee, though. Those late 90s, early 2000s Tennessee teams with Jeff Fisher, they were really good with Steve McNair.
I will say one thing, just one quick statistic about that I found hilarious. Bill Belichick could go 0-16 for 18 straight seasons and still have a better winning percentage than Jeff Fisher. That's my quick statistic.
Yeah, but I'll count it with Jeff statistic. Fisher. This is the last Jeff Fisher mentioned in this podcast, I guarantee. Jeff Fisher had 7 consecutive seasons with Tennessee with double-digit wins.
Yeah, I mean...
But then he went to the Rams for 9 seasons and never got more than 7 wins. I don't know. That's enough. But back to the Giants. Yeah. I mean, Daniel Jones, I think he's I think he can be a quarterback. I think he has a little bit of franchise quarterback in him. I mean, Saquon Barkley, spectacular. Sterling Shepard, he's a good receiver. Darius Slayton really stepped up from he was the rookie out of Auburn last year. Evan Engram, he can play as long as he's on the field. The offensive line is going to be better, but still a work in progress. And you can say that about the entire defense. Better, but still a work in progress. That's really it for the Giants. Better, but it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones showed potential. I think in his first start, I forget who he faced, but he did well
It was the
in his
Bucs.
debut. The Bucs, that's right. Yeah, he had a great debut. And,
He had a great first game.
Yep. As long as Saquon can stay healthy, I feel like he'll do solid. That's just how I feel. But it's just a wait and see approach with the Giants. It's a process. Trust the process.
And then 15th in the NFC. This one's going to be a bit controversial, I think.
Okay.
Or it might not. Going 5-11 is the Carolina Panthers. 5-11, 15th in the NFC.
Really?
David's
with Teddy
eyes
Bridgewater?
bugged out like Tyrone in Survivor Nicaragua. He just had those bug out eyes.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't see that one coming. You don't think Teddy Magic is the real deal in Carolina?
I do not. And I think this one's more schedule based. I think they're going to go 0-4 against the Bucs and Saints. They're going to split with Atlanta. They're going to beat Denver, but then they're going to lose to Oakland. They're going to lose to the Bolts. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. So right there, we're at 7 losses. And
Okay.
I'm just looking at the rest of their schedule here. I don't think it works. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I think it can work. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's good. That defense is getting up there in age. They're really going to miss Luke Kuechly. They are really going to miss him. I'm just not high on Carolina. I don't have much to say. It's more with Carolina, the main thing is they just have a tough schedule. I think they have the second toughest schedule according to Pro Football Focus in the NFL. The hardest is the New England Patriots. But Carolina's second.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I feel like Bridgewater and McCaffrey can hold their own on offense, but, their defense, like you said, Luke Kuechly, that was, I mean, when I heard he retired, that shocked me, and that's really going to hurt them. But
yes,
we'll see if they feel the effects.
We will. I just don't have much to say. I mean, and they could go in a completely different direction. If this doesn't work, I mean, what the Teddy Bridgewater was I think that was only a 2-year contract, if I remember correctly. It might have been 2 with an option for the third.
It's okay. Yep. I think
it's 2 years, and then there's a team option for the third.
Right.
Because I don't know if they're gonna try to get a quarterback, or if they take a quarterback this next year. All right, finishing 14th in the NFC with a record of 6-10 is the Atlanta Falcons.
Interesting. Okay.
I know. It's just sad. Again, tough schedule. I mean, they are also going to go 0-4 against the Bucs and Saints. Well, like I just previously said, they'll split with Carolina. So there's 5 losses there. They're getting swept by the NFC West. They're going to lose to the Chargers, Oakland, Denver, and Kansas City. Now we're at 9 losses. They play a bunch of mediocre NFC teams. They're going to get some wins there, but that's where their 6-10 comes from.
I mean, I've always been a fan of their offense, and I still will be. Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Treadwell.
Oh yeah, that offense is still going to be good.
Gurley.
And, that I like that pickup, by the way, for the Falcons. I was like,
solid
Gurley,
one.
That's a solid pickup. The defense, though, I have a problem with this team. Dan Quinn should be gone. That defense has been exposed 2 seasons now. We're talking 32 regular season games. That defense has been exposed. 30th in the NFL over the past 2 seasons on defense in terms of just raw yardage given up. The Atlanta Falcons are 30th. and this genius defensive-minded Dan Quinn. The time has
Right.
really passed him by. This exact thing happened with the Falcons with their previous head coach, Mike Smith. They waited too long. And I think, I'm sorry, because for those watching, the owner of the Falcons, Arthur Blank, is also the owner of the company I work for right now, Home Depot. I think he's too loyal, Arthur Blank. I think he doesn't want to make a move. I think he's too afraid. But I think the time is there. I think the Falcons need to move in a new direction. Now, does that involve moving Matt Ryan as a question mark? I don't think so. I mean, Matt Ryan's still got a couple good years left in him, I think. Let's see. How old is Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan.
I just looked it up. He's 35.
35. I think he's still got maybe a good 3 to 4 solid years left.
It's fair.
And Julio and Calvin Ridley are still good. But again, I think they could be better. But again, this schedule, like I just mentioned with Carolina, it's really tough. NFC South, AFC West, AFC East, NFC West. Those are the divisions that got the biggest raw deal this year.
Another thing, I'll just say one more quick thing about the Falcons. Not sure how this is going to pan out, but I do like the Dante Fowler Jr. pickup because it's just like see what happens.
Yes, they did take a speculative buy on Dante Fowler. I do like that as well.
But that's all I have to say on that.
All right, next up. Also finishing with a record of 6-10, 13th in the NFC, is the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
I personally think this is going to work. I think Dwayne Haskins can do it. Now they totally I wanted to say a bad word, but this is a family.
You can swear.
Podcast. No, I'm not.
If you want to.
No, it's okay, David. They made they should not have put Dwayne Haskins in last year. You could clearly tell he was not ready.
He wasn't ready.
They threw him into the fire. I mean, no disrespect to Case Keenum, but I mean, yeah. Darius Geis, he's a good power running back. Terry McLaurin came out of nowhere last year as a rookie.
Yeah.
He balled out.
For sure.
They traded Trent Williams. They finally got rid of that. But the rest of the offensive line's actually not too bad. I mean, they've got that guy, what's his name? Sheriff? He's like a guard for them, and he's like the second best guard in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus.
Yep, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and this is the thing about the Redskins. That defense is slept on. That's a good unit, especially that front seven. You have Ryan Kerrigan. Montez Sweat was a rookie last year. He had I think 11 and a half sacks. You got the two Alabama nose tackles, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne.
Chase Young.
And then they have Chase Young. That's right, David. And then they have some other great players. Their secondary is not as strong, but it still has some good players and thankfully they did the right thing and got rid of current convict Quentin Dunbar. Yeah, not looking good for him.
Yeah. I like Kendall Fuller, though.
They have some good safeties. They got this guy. His name's Nicholson. I think his name's Monte Nicholson. He was a good safety. Landon Collins. He's still good. He's not as good, but he's still good. You know, that defense is good. And Ron Rivera is a defensive head coach. You know? The only problem is their owner, Dan Snyder, is still the owner. He's very not liked at all within the DC or the state of Maryland. But I think Ron Rivera was the perfect hire. I think that defense is going to be great. I think the Redskins are going to play a lot of low-scoring, close games. I think a lot of their losses are going to be 14-13, 17-10, 17-13. Maybe 2017. I think they're going to have a lot of close losses, 6-10. But this is a team that I would actually keep my eyes on in the future is Washington. I think they might finally have something going because they've been just treading water ever since the early '90s, pretty much. They had a good run in the late '80s, mid '90s. They were okay. They had a little bit of a resurgence in the early 2000s with North Turner. I think they went to the playoffs like 2005, 2006, but then they've just been kind of. Anyway, that's a team that I'm going to be high on in the future. Is the Washington Redskins? I'd like to hear your opinion.
I agree with the being high on them in the future. I'm excited to see how their young players do, such as Dwayne Haskins. Was Chase Young, Reuben Foster on defense, Kendall Fuller I like, Thaddeus Moss I'm a big fan of. Really, I'm just excited to see how their young players progress. I feel like now that Dwayne Haskins has a little bit of experience under his belt, I'm excited to see how he takes a turn in year two. But it's going to be one of those things where Redskins fans, I think, should get excited, but just their time is coming.
They should. I think their time is coming. It's just so many of them have been fed up with Dan Snyder that they've just like given up with the team. But I think those loyal diehards from like their heyday back in like the mid to late '80s, I think they should get excited. I really do mean that. I think maybe I might be next year, might be 2 years. I think Washington might take off. I really do think that the Redskins are going to take off soon. And I think DC should be excited. That's like one of my favorite. I don't want to say favorite, but I think they're going to be a team to watch in the future. Not this year because it's the first year. But we're going to move on now. So I have, just like the AFC, I have 3 teams at 7-9. And one of them is going to be very controversial. So I'm going to save them to the end. So I'm going to start with this first one. 12th in the NFC, 7-9 is the Bears, Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Nick Foles, like you were saying with Nick Foles, I just think that perfectly describes him. He had one great postseason run, all-time great postseason run.
Absolutely.
As much as we hated to see it as Patriots fans, you have to respect it. Nick Foles did ball out in 2017 for the Eagles.
Definitely.
And then the next year, it almost happened again. I mean, they went with Wentz. He got hurt. Foles came in. Did they won a wild card game that year? Who'd they play? I don't remember who they beat though.
Chicago. Who are we talking about?
It was the Bears. It was the double doink. It's actually the Bears. That's who we're talking about right now.
Right.
I like that, David. That's funny. Yeah. I mean, Foles and Trubisky. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky gets maligned a lot. I mean, I don't think he's the worst quarterback in the world. That's what people are making out. I mean, in hindsight, it looks really, really bad that they picked him and traded up to do it. That just looks awful.
Well, that's the worst part.
So I actually do feel for him. I mean, I also feel like that's gotten in his head a little bit that, you know, he was picked before Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And I think he tries to force some stuff, and that's why the Bears offense has struggled. Matt Nagy, he is a great offensive mind. He needs to run the ball more. Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, that's a great 2 running backs. I mean, the defense, it's still good. I don't think it's going to be as great as it was 2 years ago. We saw last year they took a step back. I mean, last year they still finished, I think it was 6th in the NFL in total defense.
Yeah. But, sounds about right.
I mean, they didn't have a lot of draft picks because they didn't have a first or a second because both of those went to the Raiders for Khalil Mack this year. But right. And they traded another pick for Nick Foles. But the quarterback thing will be interesting to see. I still think it's going to be Trubisky, and here's why. Put your tinfoil hat on, David. I have a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I think Bears general manager Ryan Pace has swindled the McCaskey family, the owners of the Bears, that Mitch Trubisky will start regardless of what happened. And that's because he invested all this draft capital and he wants to look good and show that he was right. And that You can see anytime anyone's asked, he has defended that he picked Mitch Trubisky. He's been, oh, he's a great guy. He's going to be good. I am 100% happy with my decision. Because, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky seems like a really, really nice guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, I also think it doesn't help that he's played in a very physical NFC North. But I don't know who the right quarterback is to start. I really don't know. I honestly don't know who you start there. All right, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, just like continuing on with the quarterback thing, like I don't know either because what they give up for Nick Foles? Like what round pick was it?
I think it was a 4 and a 6.
4 and a 6.
But that's because his contract was really bad, though.
Oh yeah, $22 million a year, and I mean it's not his fault because he got injured in Jacksonville. But
I mean the Jags retained 50%,
right?
And they restructured it to make it more incentive bonus. But the Jaguars got like a $50 million dead cap because of it. But you can continue.
I wouldn't mind just seeing them throw Foles in there, but I do feel like Trubisky is going to start regardless, kind of like pertaining to what you said. And I do think a lot of it is like pressure just for Mahomes. Trubisky, because he's picked before Mahomes, like you said, and there's just a lot of pressure on him. I thought he had a solid rookie season last year. Obviously, he didn't do that well, but I just think it is definitely a lot of pressure being put on him where it's really not his fault. But I mean, I think I'm excited to see how he does, but I would throw maybe I honestly don't know who I'd throw in there, but I could see the Bears doing decent because I've been a fan of Matt Nagy. I think he's a solid head coach. He's another young executive who
I agree.
I like Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Jalen Johnson.
Oh, the Robert Quinn pickup. That was great. That was a good pickup, I have to say. And they got him cheap, too, because, the Cowboys had no money because they're putting aside all this money for Dak.
Right.
So they didn't want to spend on Robert Quinn. That's a good pickup by the Bears.
For sure. But, yeah, I think we'll see how the Bears do.
We'll see. We're going to move on. So, actually, the next two are considered controversial. This is not the one that I think is very controversial. But I think some people will disagree with me here. Finishing 11th in the NFC at 7-9 is the Rams, the LA Rams.
Interesting. You have them taking a severe drop off, it seems like.
They were 9-7 last year.
Okay,
and this one is similar. This one's similar to Carolina. This one's a lot more schedule based. I think that the Rams, I think they might have screwed themselves, especially with this cap situation. They are still over the salary cap. They still have to get down. I think it's like $9 million. They're still over. They still haven't paid Todd Gurley his bonus. They still haven't paid Clay Matthews his bonus. I mean, they got this cool new stadium. I mean, people have put out the conspiracy theory that the Rams are actually broke. I don't believe that. Any smart person would not go broke to build a new stadium.
Right.
I personally believe, now this is me, and we're going to put this on record. 1 hour, 18 minutes, 16 seconds into this podcast on June 1st, 2020. I think Jared Goff is a horrible quarterback and is absolutely terrible and is arguably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
Really?
Yes, I said it. I put that out there.
Okay. Sorry, Jared Goff, if you're watching.
What? What'd you say there?
I just said sorry if Jared Goff is watching.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Jared Goff. You don't got it, buddy. They don't have a real running back. I mean, they got this guy, Darrell Henderson, that people are saying is going to be good. I've never heard of him, so. I mean, Cooper Kupp is still good. Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, Josh Reynolds. I think they drafted another receiver in the second round. So I think the offense will still be okay because Jared Goff has to have his little earpiece in so Sean McVay can tell him everything because he's a fraud and he's not a real quarterback. Their offensive line is old and aging. Andrew Whitworth's like 39. The rest of the line isn't good. I mean, Aaron Donald's a monster. You can argue he's still underpaid, and he's still the highest paid defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
They also have some good pieces. I mean, Jalen Ramsey in that secondary. I mean, I mean, he didn't put up a lot of numbers when he got to the Rams, but he played well. But again, I think this is more division. I think Arizona is going to be good. Seattle's still going to be good, and I think San Francisco is still going to be really good. And they are unfortunate also, not just by the schedule, but the schedule makers. So they get the Jets and the Pats at home. They have an early season game in Miami. I think they lose that. It's going to be hot and humid. And they have a late season game at Buffalo. It's going to be cold, might be snowy, might be wet outside. They're going to lose that. And Jared Goff is a fraud. He's not a good quarterback. He's awful. He's terrible. You need Sean McVay to tell him everything he needs to do. I'd argue that he is in the bottom 5 in terms of safe starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Over to you.
I'm not gonna be as
you can see I'm very passionate about how much I think Jared Goff sucks. Again, if you're sitting out there, Jared Goff, and you're watching this podcast, I hope you're listening because I'm right. You stink.
See, I'm not gonna hop on the Jared Goff is bad bandwagon. Do I think do I think he's proven himself to be worthy of being the number 1 overall pick? No. And I think that's been proven multiple times. And
whatever you did, you got louder again. I think that's better. I don't know what you just did.
Perfect. As proven in Super Bowl 53, I think. Was it? Sorry, 53, 54? I don't remember. But anyways, the Super Bowl against the Patriots, it
was 53.
53, yeah. He got exposed. He's had flashes where he's been solid, but I mean, it's just, I think he's going to have to take a big step up to prove that because he got a huge extension, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's still the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. It was like 4 years, 134 for a fraud.
Yeah, he's going to have to really step up this year to prove himself worthy of that, anywhere close to that. But I think the Rams with the trade of Brandon Cooks are kind of admitting that they messed up in a way, like they are in some deep trouble with the cap space, and they're kind of going to have a tough time digging themselves out of that, because if you ask me, they committed all this money to one Super Bowl run, and that was the run against the Patriots, and it almost worked for them because me and you can both agree, even though we won that game was easily for the Rams taking with the way it was going. Like it
was. They were in it the whole time. They did have several chances.
I think they're a solid team. It's just they have so much money tied up to them, and I'll reiterate what Joe said. They just play in a tough division and a tough schedule. But, I've always been a fan of Sean McVay. A lot of people don't take him seriously because he's the young executive. He's only like 34 or something like that. But I think he's a great head coach. But
I do think he is a good coach. All right, here's the next one. This is the one. This one's controversial. Finishing 11th or 10th in the NFC. Also 7-9. The Minnesota Vikings.
The Vikings, okay. All right.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, I mean, he's much maligned. I mean, he gets made fun of because he can't win big games. And I actually don't want to say anything mean to Kirk Cousins but it is well deserved. I think he's been a consistent starter now for about 6 or 7 years in the NFL. And his primetime record's I think it's 4-27 or something. Primetime games and teams over 500. He did play good against the Saints last year in the playoffs. I'm going to give him that.
Yep, I agree with that.
Dalvin Cook, I mean, he's good, but he's injury prone. I like their other running back, Alexander Madison. He's another big running back that the Vikings have. No Diggs. I mean, they did pick a receiver in the first round, Justin Jefferson. I mean, this is going to contradict what I said with the Broncos with Jerry Jeudy, but you never know what you get with the receiver. Kyle Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, still a great tight end. offensive line is getting better. I still think it's a bottom half unit. The defense is still good. They got all sorts of playmakers. Mike Zimmer, defensive head coach. But I think they're going to take a step back, especially on offense, because I have a feeling Dalvin Cook is going to get hurt again. That's just me, and we're going to have to rely a lot more on Kirk Cousins to throw the ball. And I hate to be a mean person, but I don't think Kirk is going to step up to the point where they need. I think he can still throw for like 400 yards a game, but I just don't see it. And I think another team in the division's taken off this year. And that's gonna make my friend Isaiah very happy.
Shout out Isaiah in this podcast. Hope you're listening at some point. Yeah, I think Minnesota. I've always thought that Kirk Cousins. He's not your worst quarterback ever, but he's not your greatest quarterback ever. He's serviceable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 2015 when he was with Washington was like peak Kirk Cousins, if you ask me.
Yeah, he was really good that year. I'm looking at that 2015 numbers right now. I mean, he threw for over 4,000 yards, 38 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And that was a very mediocre Redskins team too.
Absolutely. And I mean, he did well against New Orleans, like we said in the playoff game last year. That was a huge upset. They're really going to feel the loss of Stephon Diggs. I mean, Adam Thielen's still good, but he's only one receiver. Yeah. I like the pieces they have on defense. Sorry.
Yes. And I like the kid Jefferson, the receiver they picked out of LSU. But again, from one thing I've seen from interviews is Mike Zimmer is a tough, no BS kind of coach. Like people say that like Bill Belichick is bad, try Mike Zimmer. They say he's like harder than Belichick. And for a young person like that, I don't know. All right, we're going to move on now. 2 more teams that are going to miss the playoffs in the NFC, finishing 9th in the NFC with a record of 8-8. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback situation, is the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys, you have them missing out again. Second year in a row.
Dallas. I mean, I liked the Andy Dalton pickup. I thought that was a great move by Jerry Jones. I personally, I have the controversial opinion about how Jared Goff is terrible. I have a controversial opinion that Andy Dalton is fantastic. The Red Rifle. I think Andy Dalton is a top 16 quarterback in this league because he took a mediocre, cheap, boring Bengals team to the playoffs for 5 consecutive years in a tough NFC North with the Ravens and the Steelers. I can't talk about the Browns because the Browns were not good. But sorry, Cleveland fans out there. Now, he didn't win any playoff games. Yeah, okay. Look at those rosters.
The one against Pittsburgh.
Who was he playing with? Bunch of nobodies. Except for 2015. That 2015 Bengals team was really good. They were I think they were 13-3, but they were a wild card team because the Steelers were 14-2.
They started off 7-0.
No, wait, no, that was the year before. No. Now, yeah, the year when they played the Steelers in the wild card round and they just fell apart. That was just sad because the Bengals were finally going to do it, and then it all just fell apart with Pac-Man Jones and Perfect. But anyway, we're talking about the Cowboys, not the Bengals here. So the Cowboys I think they have some talent. I mean, Zeke last year, he was still good. I like Tony Pollard. I think CeeDee Lamb was a great pick. Michael Gallup, he's pretty good too. You know, a lot of people forget about him. And Amari Cooper, he's good. Did they sign another tight end? Because I know Witten left. Or do they still have – because they have these other this is going to sound mean. They have those other big white tight ends. They got like Jarwin and Schultz.
They have this other guy, Blake Bell.
I don't think they signed another tight end.
– Yeah, it doesn't look like.
But their offensive line is still good. I might take a step back as Tyron Smith has now had multiple seasons in a row here with injuries. The defense, I think it's going to take a step back. I really do. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence, he's good, but I think he's overpaid. He only had 8.5 sacks now. Again, I've had 0 sacks in the NFL. You've had 0 sacks in the NFL. A lot of people watching this video have had 0 sacks in the NFL. But when you're getting paid over $120 million, I think we expect a little more than 8.5 sacks in the season.
Fair.
I mean, Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch, those are some great linebackers. That secondary has no one, especially with Byron Jones leaving. Oh, another good pickup for the Dolphins, by the way. We didn't talk about that with the Dolphins. I like that Byron Jones pickup. But they have like a bunch of nobodies back there. And I mean, if Dak is there, maybe that gets them to 9-7, 10-6, but I have them 8-8 and just missing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys, they've proven that their offense is pretty solid. I think it really depends on how Dak plays because he really didn't do his best last year, if you ask me. Zeke's going to Zeke, to put it like that. I think he's always been good, but I like Gallup. I like Cooper, like you said. Their offense has proven themselves, but I just think they got to be disciplined, and I hope that's really the biggest thing because me and my dad talked about this where we just thought and no disrespect to Jason Garrett, he's a great guy, like very, very nice person from what everyone has said about him, but he just seemed more like a cheerleader than an actual coach. And I hope Mike McCarthy is a little bit more set in having them discipline because I feel like that was the biggest thing with the team last year, or those 8 years under Garrett, 8-9 years.
I think their main problem was coaching. Again, no disrespect to Jason Garrett. I mean, he was an NFL head coach for 8 years. Again, I haven't coached in the NFL. You haven't either. We both probably do it in Madden multiple times a day. Right. I think we're this hot stuff. Excuse me. I hope I'm not spreading the virus through the pandemic, through the video here. But, yeah, I mean, Mike McCarthy, I think that's a good hire for the Cowboys. I mean, I don't think Mike McCarthy is this, fantastic head coach. I mean, I think he was a little overrated during his heyday in Green Bay. As we saw towards the end, he kind of got, I don't want to say exposed. I think when the Packers kind of fell apart, I think that was more management than Mike McCarthy. And now they got new management. But, yeah. And then, all right, we're going to move on to the final NFC team I don't think is going to make the playoffs. And a lot of people are going to hate this one because I have them missing and then the next team making it. The next team, 8th in the NFC at 8-8 because they like the number 8. Get ready. It's the Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks, okay. Interesting.
And I have something. So, do you know who the Seahawks GM is off the top of your head?
Isn't his name Schneider?
Yeah, it's Schneider. People talk about how he's good. I disagree. I think he has done a poor job of helping Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is great. Russell Wilson is fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal draft pick in the 3rd round. He has been unbelievably good for that team. Absolutely. Chris Carson, he was a good find. He was also a 7th round pick. He was a 7th round pick. He's been a good running back for them. Now he had some injury problems last year. And a couple years ago, they spent a 1st round pick on a running back.
Oh, yeah.
Receivers, Tyler Lockett, he's pretty good. DK Metcalf was good last year. And that's about it.
I like the Dorsett pick.
Offensive line is still a bottom 10 unit. The defense, It's nowhere near what they were back in like 2014. That was a scary defense back in 2013. That was
Legion of
scary. That was a scary good defense. I mean, Bobby Wagner's still there, but he's now on the wrong side of 30. KJ Wright is nearing the end. Earl Thomas is gone. Cam Chancellor retired. They have some players to fill it, but I don't think they're the unit they were. And I really don't think that they've done a good job of helping Russell Wilson. I mean, they picked some linebacker. I think his name was Brooks. It was a questionable pick. I mean, people are like, oh, well, Mel Kiper doesn't know what he was talking about. Well, Mel Kiper, he normally has a pretty good grasp of how things go. He had the linebacker they picked as a 4th round pick. They picked him in the 1st round, like 27th overall. Yeah, I just don't think they've done a good job. And again, very tough division that they're in. And that's all I have to say about Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell Wilson's always been solid. I like the receiving corps with Lockett, Metcalf, and Dorsett. Like, I feel like those are 3 solid receivers.
Oh, did they pick up Philip Dorsett?
Yeah, they got him on a 1-year deal. I thought
I did not know that. Actually, that's funny you mention it. I'm going to take a quick tangent here. So I remember one time I was doing a Madden franchise. I don't remember what team it was. But anyway, Philip Dorsett signed a 1-year deal with the Seahawks, and he put up like 1,300 yards and had 12 touchdowns.
Jeez.
Oh, but anyway, back to you, David.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're one of those teams where I feel like you can count on them making the playoffs, but they've had problems ever since 2015 with taking the next step to get back towards the Super Bowl. And that's not a knock on Wilson or anything he's doing, but I think they've transitioned from like what you said, where their defense used to be solid and it used to be like a very balanced, good football team, or maybe their defense was just a little bit better than the offense, but still they're very dominant, where I think they're now more offensive heavy and their defense is starting to trend downwards. I mean, like you said, people like Bobby Wagner and Bruce Irvin, they're only getting a year older, but I mean, they have a solid enough team to get in the playoffs, but they're going to have to make some changes, I think, to get to the next step.
I agree. I'm looking at how they've done after 2015 here. In 2016, they lost to the machine that was the Atlanta Falcons offense. They lost there. Then 2017, they missed. They went 9-7, right. Didn't make it. 2018, they were back, and they got run off the field by Zeke and the Cowboys.
Yep.
And then last year, they beat the Eagles, but then they lost to the Packers in a very ugly game that was very low scoring and had a lot of penalties. But yeah, moving on. All right, I'm gonna write down this timestamp real quick because this is important.
Okay.
Finishing 7th in the NFC with a record of 9-7, the most out there prediction of them all. The Detroit Lions are going to make the playoffs at 9-7, 7th in the NFC.
Okay, interesting.
Matt Stafford. I did some digging on this one. Matt Stafford, he does have a losing record in his career. Games where he has not started since he was drafted, there have been, due to injury, 25 games he has not started. The Lions are 2-23 in those games that he hasn't started. He has carried this team for so long. You saw it last year when he was when he got injured in week 5. They had 11 games left and went 0-11.
Yeah.
So the key is for him to be healthy. I like Kerryon Johnson. They picked DeAndre Swift in the 2nd round. I think he could add an element. Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay, great receivers. They're fantastic. TJ Hawkinson, he had a pretty good rookie season. I mean, again, I don't know about picking a tight end 8th overall 2 years ago, but the offensive line was addressed in free agency. This is a team my friend follows, by the way. So, Yeah, offensive line was addressed in free agency, as was the defense in general. Um, I mean, they have Trey Flowers from a couple of years ago. They brought in Jamie Collins, Daron Harmon. He's a pretty good safety. Justin Coleman. He's a great little slot corner, former Patriot.
I was going to say, yeah.
And then picking Jeff Okuda, third overall. That's a good pick. Now, I personally believe that the Lions could have traded down in this past draft and still gotten him and maybe gotten an extra pick. But they ended up not doing that, which I guess is all right. And they have a good kicker. Matt Prater has been a great kicker for 12 years. And I think the Lions are going to take off this year with Matt Patricia. You can see they had a good start last year, and even when they were losing, the players were buying into him. Now, if they fall apart, then he's probably going to get fired, and they're going to have to start over again for the umpteenth time since the 1960s. I haven't won a playoff game since 1990. I'll let you talk about the Lions real quick.
I think they made all the right moves in the offseason. I'm not sure if I'm all in on them, like making the playoffs yet, but
see, I'm all in. I could be very wrong, but I am all in on the Lions this year.
I like the pickups they made. I like their receiving corps with Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay. I've always felt for Matt Stafford, I guess. I always feel like Detroit sports in general. Sorry if there's any Detroit fans out here. They've always kind of gone the short end of the stick, whether it's like the Pistons or the Lions or anything. But, I hope they do well this year. I like the pickups. I like Trufant. I thought that was a sneaky good pickup for corner.
That was a sneaky good pickup, yeah. I think he still has something left in the tank. You could tell he was done with Atlanta.
For sure. And I think you could say the same with Jamie Collins and Daron Harmon, like you touched upon. Danny Shelton, another former Patriot.
Danny Shelton. I think that could be another good sneaky pickup.
It really all depends. I think Matt Patricia has kind of had a tough first 2 years as a head coach, but year 3, I'm really expecting him to do better. And I think
his first year was okay. They went 6-10.
And they did have a nice win against the Pats. I'll give them that.
They did have a good win against the Pats. Now, last year, I hate to use injuries as an excuse to keep a coach, but Matt Stafford literally has been carrying this franchise on his back, literally, for 10 seasons now.
Right.
And everyone got all worried because he put his house up for sale, and so all the trade rumors started flying around the draft. But that's because they were having another kid and they needed a new house for more bedrooms. That's literally why they sold his house.
Right. But, I hope the best. I think this is another team like the Cowboys where the X factor is going to be coaching and not necessarily discipline, but just how effective the coach can be.
It really is. Now, they did pick up last year they had a new offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel. Now, he's the one that passed the ball on the 1 yard line. But we can go back to that another day. I actually think that was the right call to pass the ball in that Super Bowl. Like, statistically speaking and mathematically speaking, that was actually the right move to make. But that's for another day. We're going to move on now because I bet everyone is, really mad that I actually think the Lions are going to do well. The next team I have, 6th in the NFC, also at 9-7. is the Arizona Cardinals.
The Cardinals, okay.
Something just drove by David's house. Someone's riding a motorcycle.
Yep.
Arizona, Kyler Murray had a really good rookie season. A lot of people didn't watch because Arizona's just been a franchise that's just been terrible. Besides a fluke run in 2008, and they had a pretty good run in 2015 with Bruce Arians. But other than that, it's been a lot of nothing. Kyler Murray's good. That DeAndre Hopkins trade, thumbs up to Cardinals management. That was a fantastic trade.
Absolutely.
As soon as I'm going to assume that that Bill O'Brien called them and said exactly what the trade was, and they said, "Okay, deal, no trade backs." Hung up the phone and immediately called the league. "Hey, we got a trade with Houston." I'm going to assume that's what happened.
Probably.
I also have Christian Kirk. He's a good slot receiver. Andy Isabella, Massachusetts.
Oh yeah,
Their offensive line, like I said with the Giants, work in progress, better, but still not good enough. Defense is, again, like I said, better, but still not good enough. I think this team's going to score a lot of points, and I think they're going to do well because I believe in Kyler Murray. I think he's going to do really well. They still have players like Patrick Peterson and this kid they drafted last year, Byron Murphy. He was a second-round pick from Washington. He was a corner. He had 4 interceptions in his rookie season. I think he's really going to turn it on.
sure.
I think that this team's going to score a lot of points, and I think their defense is going to keep them in games. I think their defense is going to make those plays late in the fourth quarter. They're going to win a lot of games like 38-35, 42-38, where either they're going to get like a big fourth down sack from Chandler Jones or Pat Pete or Byron Murphy's going to make an interception. Or I think Arizona's going to be good this year. Do they win the playoff game I have them going with? Yes, I think they are going to, but we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, I think that was a great trade they made for Hopkins. I think they have a good foundation with young players like Murray, Hopkins.
Yes.
I still like Pat Pete.
I think they're going in the right direction because for a while there they were just drifting as bad. I was talking about how the Redskins were drifting kind of mediocrely. The Cardinals were drifting they were just bad. They were awful for like a solid like 20 years. Again, with the exceptions of the one Super Bowl run in 2008 and that one good run in 2015. They've been awful.
Yep. But I think they're trending upwards. I hope that they can get a ring for Larry Fitzgerald before he retires because he's one of those players where you can only root for, like you can only hope to root for because, you know, he's a class act. He's always been a good receiver for the Cardinals and he stayed loyal to them. Yeah, I think they have a good foundation. And if not this year, I feel like they're going to take steps forward towards like years in the future to make an impact. But
I might be a little premature. They might need another year before they really take off. I think it's going to be this year, but it also helps that they're playing the suddenly not as strong AFC East.
right.
They are at New England. I think they are going to lose that game, but they also get Buffalo at home, so I think they have a chance for that. They are at Miami, but it's late in the season, and they also are a warm weather team, so I think that kind of cancels out. And then they do get the Jets at home. I think they win that game. Just a schedule note there. All right, moving on here. 5th in the NFC with a record of 11-5 as a wild card team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa, I like that. I like the touch there.
Yeah, that offense, I think, is going to put up a lot of points. You have Tom Brady. Running back. I always like Peyton Barber. He's a running back. They've had him for 4 years. They don't really use him a lot, but he's been pretty good. He's had like around 500 yards now and like 6 to 8 touchdowns. We're talking like 4 years in a row. I got this guy, Ronald Jones. He's entering his third year out of USC. He was very underutilized, but Bruce Arians has said he wants to get him more touches. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, that might be the best 1-2 punch of receivers in the league. O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, that might be the best 1-2 tight ends in the league. Offensive line, that was a great thing they did at the draft and picking up Tristan Wirfs, moving up one spot to get him. You know, normally we laugh at teams that move up one spot, but I think the Niners were very interested in Tristan Wirfs. They would eventually pick up Trent Williams at a very bargain price. We haven't gotten to San Francisco yet, but the defense was surprisingly good last year. They were the number 4 defense in all of NFL was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. Last year they were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, excuse me.
Right.
But let me tell you, Todd Bowles, fantastic defensive coordinator. Head coach, not so much.
I thought he did good his first year with the Jets, but that's all I'll say on that.
His first year with the Jets was good. But they still had some of those good defensive players from the Rex Ryan years.
Yeah.
And then after that, with the Jets, they had their new GM. Their at the time new GM that was terrible and just ruined the team. But excuse me. I think the Buccaneers are gonna be good this year. I think they have a chance to go deep. I'll leave it over to you.
Yeah, I think their offense is going to do really well. Obviously, the additions of Tom Brady and Gronk will do that for you. But everyone's kind of like, and I'm not saying this is like a bitter Patriots fan, but everyone's like expecting Brady to be like, 30-year-old 2007 version of Tom Brady, when that's just not realistic. People need to understand that he was 43 years old and father time is going to hit him. As much as I love him and as much as I'm still going to root for him, like you could see last year on the Patriots, like, and it didn't help that he had no receivers, but he didn't play the best he could, and you can see that his age is going to start catching up to him. But he's in a great.
He was doing great in avoiding that, but I think now his age, it's starting to catch up with him a little bit.
He's in a great scenario now, though, where if he doesn't want to throw it, their running backs are great, as you touched upon. He has plenty of targets. Their offense is going to be just fine, and their defense is on the rise. I like players like Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, like these veteran presences.
And they have some good young kids, especially in their secondary. They got these guys. They have two young corners, Sean Murphy-Bunting out of Central Michigan. He was a 4th-round pick. He had 3 interceptions last year. And then Jamal Dean, he was a 5th-round pick out of Auburn like 3 years ago. He stepped up last year too in that secondary. And they're going to need those guys to step up in a division like the NFC South with Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, and Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball.
And I also like the Shaquille Barrett linebacker.
Shaq Barrett. That was a great pickup. That was fantastic. All right.
I would say they're on the rise.
The 4th seed in the NFC with a record of 8-8 and getting a home playoff game is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, they might sneak through in that division.
They are. I think they will. Oh, my God. I mean, I think that Jalen Hurts pick was stupid.
I just don't see why they did, but
I don't know why. I mean, Carson Wentz, I still think he's good. I don't think he's this like best quarterback ever, like Colin Cowherd thinks he is. You hear Colin Cowherd talk about Carson Wentz. You think he's like a god to him. But Miles Sanders is he's a good running back. Alshon Jeffrey, he's still been pretty good. He's had a lot of nagging injuries. They drafted a receiver in the 1st round, Rieger. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, good tight ends. Offensive line, top 5. Front 7 of their defense, pretty good for the Eagles. Pretty solid group. Back end is a little mishmashy, but especially now they don't even have Malcolm Jenkins anymore. So I think that defense is going to get exposed, especially that secondary in the passing game. But I think they're going to do just enough to make the division, and then they're going to get absolutely destroyed at home in their first playoff game. Not a team I'm very high on, but they are in the worst division in football, in my opinion, and they're going to win it at 8-8 and get a home playoff game.
Yeah, I think they're a solid team. It really all depends on the health of Carson Wentz, and this has been said year after year. He's a good quarterback. He just can't stay healthy.
No, and that's not really his fault either.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't predict injuries.
Now, some people say it is his fault because, he's had a good offensive line. No, it's still not his fault.
Yeah.
Some people are more injury prone than others.
To everyone who's saying that, you try taking like a defensive tackle, a sack to the knee in like 2018 and still throw like a 60-yard touchdown pass. Like, he was doing great in 2018 before he went down.
Or you get clobbered on your blind side and you end up falling right on your throwing shoulder, and then you have a whole lineman's weight on top of your weight.
Exactly. It all depends on his health. He's a solid quarterback. I'm not going to say he's like amazing like Colin Cowherd does, but he's good. Their offense is going to be good. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, Marquise Goodwin. I like Alshon Jeffrey. Their defense is also going to be the biggest question mark, and it has been since I think really They faced us in the Super Bowl where, I mean, they had. I like Darius Slay. I thought that was a good pickup, but there's not much else to say about that on defense because they lost Ronald Darby, or he's not on the team anymore at least. So, I mean, that remains to be seen, the defense. But I feel like they will be able to sneak through in kind of like a weak division, like you were alluding to.
Been cutting out. Still there?
Okay, I think we're good. I think we're both cutting out for each other.
Yeah, you were cutting. All right, you keep cutting. No.
Can you? I think. Are we good? Let's see. Okay, are we good now? I hope. Everyone keeps cutting it. Ah, dang it. You freeze like. Are we good? Let me see. I think we're back. Can you hear me?
All right, well, we only have one more team to deep dive, and then at 9-7 is the Green Bay Packers. They're going to win their division. They're going to tie with the Lions, the Packers. I don't think they're that good. I mean, I don't know why you'd pick Jordan Love. And in the most logical time, you're going to put him unless you move Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones is still a good running back, but why did you pick a running back in the second round? There's still not a lot of receivers exposed against the Niners, and they did very little to address it. I don't think Green Bay is going to be that. Did you hear me?
I heard bits and pieces of what you're saying. You just cut out a bit, but okay. I heard.
Yeah, I'm just talking about. Okay, you're kind of better now.
Okay, yeah, same for you. It's getting a little bit better.
All right, I was just talking about how I don't really believe the Packers. I think their management did not do a good job at the drafts. I mean, everyone's made fun of their management. But I think they're going to win their division at 9-7. They're going to tie with the Lions, and then they're going to probably lose their playoff game.
Yeah, I think they had a shaky draft, but I think they're still a solid team. I like the receiving corps with Devontae Adams, Funchess. Aaron Jones is a solid running back. Aaron Rodgers is still going to do his thing. I think they're a solid team, but I don't know if they'll ever be able to take the next step again. I don't know if this is the year that we see Rodgers kind of make another deep playoff run to try and get a playoff ring or a Super Bowl ring because, there's just too many solid teams in front of them, in my opinion, which we'll get to.
I agree. And then the two big ones in the NFC are the Saints and Niners. Both are going to finish 12-4. I think San Francisco gets the edge. I think San Francisco wins that matchup head-to-head. And there's not really much to say about either of them. I mean, the Saints are the Saints. They're going to have another good year. And then the Niners, I mean, I think they've just gotten better. I mean, they bring in Trent Williams to replace Joe Staley. They drafted Kinlaw to replace what's his name? Buckner. They drafted another good receiver in the first round. And Yeah, there's not much to say about those teams. They're pretty much the same. I think they're both going to be good again.
Yeah, and I think the Saints losing to the Vikings was a bit of a fluke. I think the Saints are still a solid team, and both of these teams are pretty much bringing back the same rosters. The only thing that could bring us... Sorry.
I think the Niners actually are bringing back a better roster, believe it or not.
Okay.
So here are my NFC wildcard games. I think these are all... So the first one's kind of a stinker. It would be Detroit at New Orleans. I think New Orleans takes that handedly. Sorry, Detroit.
Fair.
Then Arizona at Green Bay. Fun fact for the viewers out there: Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against the, or 0-2 against the Cardinals in his playoff career. I think that would go to 0-3, and then I think Tampa Bay would just go in and just destroy the Eagles, Bucks and Eagles.
Revenge for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our bold predictions for the season. I'm going to let you go first, David.
So this is kind of contrary to your season rankings and where people are going to place. I think for the third year in a row, an AFC quarterback is going to win the MVP. I'm going to say Deshaun Watson wins this year. I think he's taken the next step. He's getting lost in that kind of top quarterback mantra because you think of the Mahomes and the Jacksons now, but Deshaun Watson has been sneaky good ever since he came out in 2017, out of the 2017 draft. What sticks out to me is his rookie year against New England. That was a great game. And, obviously he had the ACL injury, but even after that, he's been great. He did really well against Houston in the second half, or against Buffalo in the second half of that playoff game. And for the first half of the Kansas City game. Sorry to bring that up for Texans fans.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take the next step, though, because even though he lost Hopkins, I think he's going to do the best he can with Cooks and Fuller. So my bold prediction is Deshaun Watson will be your NFL MVP for the 2020 season, and it'll come out of nowhere just like it came out of nowhere for Lamar.
Okay. I disagree, but you know what? That's totally fine.
Hey,
my bold prediction is much more specific. I think week 8 of this season, Derek Carr is going to be benched for Marcus Mariota.
Interesting. Okay.
Because we talked about it earlier. I don't think John Gruden likes Derek Carr. And I think it's because Derek Carr is too nice of a guy. I mean, a lot of my bold predictions are more about just how the teams will do. So that's a player one that I'm going to go with. I think Derek Carr gets to ride the pine for a bit. And then this is what's going to happen. Doesn't end here. Well, now I have to think about it. I think Derek Carr is going to become the new starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to trade. I think Rivers is only going to go 1 year. He's going to be done. Brissett's up, and I don't think he's going to want to go back. And so then they're going to bring in Derek Carr in Indy.
I could see that happening if this all unfolds. It'd be interesting if Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr, and what I mean by that is Ryan Tannehill coming in and stealing it from Mariota, and
Mariota does the same thing. That would be funny.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I feel like he's I think Gruden's a Mariota guy. If you ask me to, I think
so. Thing is, I don't know if Mariota's I don't know if Mariota's gonna embrace Gruden. I mean, I think he might because he has no choice because he failed in Tennessee. Whether that's his fault or Tennessee's fault is up in the air.
Yeah, this is Mariota's last chance. I think we can agree. This is like make it or break it in Oakland.
Last chance to be a starter. He might then just become just a backup.
Yeah, like the clipboard Jesus of the NFL. Shout out Charlie Whitehurst. But
no, that's Chase Daniel.
Okay, fair enough.
That's Chase Daniel. 100 passes in 11 years.
Fair.
All right. Thank you to all the viewers who have seen this.
That's going
to be David's NFL 2020 season preview.
That's going to do it.
David close it up.
Yeah, so thank you, Joe, for joining us. We are closing in on a little
You're
bit over
welcome.
2 hours here. This was a fun podcast. It's another episode of In Depth with David. We got some exciting interviews coming up. This was another great podcast with my good friend Joe.
Yes,
Thanks again for joining me to do this. We'll have to do this again soon, whether it's about this again or sports. We'll figure it out.
or something.
But it's
Or something. We'll get something.
It's always a fun time talking to Joe. But yeah, if you like this episode, you can watch it on my YouTube channel where we're streaming right now, Sponge401, or you can go on iTunes where that will be uploaded soon. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of In Depth with David. I hope you enjoyed listening to us for 2 hours and 5 minutes, and have a great rest of your day.
See you, David.
Yeah, see you. Thanks for joining.